now.
I'd love to ask Hans. Let's submit a couple things quickly, Hans. Eric Holder is a poor advocate, a poor messenger for any potential action, no matter whether or not it's legitimate or not. Secondly, whether or not Darren Wilson illegitimately or legitimately fired on Michael Brown is not a good proxy for a larger conversation on anything yet, because we don't know what happened in that case. However, submitting those two things, is it not worthy to ask what is going on with the relationship between African Americans in this country and law enforcement? The data says what it says, but we often see these protests, the things that happen after Ferguson. There was a police officer shot in New Jersey recently, and there was a monument or a memorial, a makeshift memorial made in his African-American community, made to the police killer. These kind of things seem to happen over and over, and is it worth not asking at some point, what's going on with the relationship between the African-American community and law enforcement?
Well, I have to say, I think both the Attorney General and the President have made things worse in the past few years because of
But Hans, is that submitting that there is a potential problem?
Well, I think there's a potential problem in communities where they are told by not only political leadership, but by folks like Al Sharpton that, yeah, you should expect to be discriminated against by law enforcement, when I said the evidence is simply not there.
So you're not denying that they feel it.
That is a real problem.
So you're not denying, Hans, that they feel it, that there's a feeling in the community of distrust towards law enforcement. What you're suggesting is it's an illegitimate feeling.
It is an illegitimate feeling, and this money ought to be used to try to convince people and educate people that that's not true. Not, as they say they're going to use it, to supposedly educate police officers to quit being biased when there's no evidence that they're biased.
Will, you're talking about the feeling in these communities, and obviously the feeling which does exist, and I think Hans admitted that as well, is echoed and amplified by the Attorney General of the United States.
And I don't doubt that, but then we get into somewhat of a chicken or egg conversation. Are people like Al Sharpton and Eric Holder contributing to the inflammation of those feelings? Clearly the answer is yes. But without their presence, would the feelings exist otherwise? I have to say, we have to admit they probably would.
Yes, they would, but I think that people are afraid to discuss why those feelings exist and why there is the incidents of racial profiling or whatever goes on in these communities. It's because they're high crime communities. What we should, if you want to spend money on a pilot program, let's spend money on why there's so much crime in these urban areas, or why there's so much crime in these black communities, and then start from there.
What happens is the innocent people in those communities
not re-educating our police
also have